Hey everybody. How we doing? So did we figure out why we're here? Like why we're coming out on a Sunday night? Some familiar faces, some new faces? Have you thought about what you want when you leave tonight? So my hope is, my belief is that each of you could leave tonight feeling like you could help a kid who stutters, to help a family, a little bit more than you do right now. So how many of you are people who are speech therapists? Or how many people here are students, speech therapy students? Amazing, amazing. Already coming out to learn on a Sunday night, awesome. How many of you are people who are speech therapists? Amazing. How many people here work with like preschool? Let's say, when I say preschool, I mean like 2 to 5. Yeah, great. How many people, and you can double dip, how many people work with school age? Let's say like 6 to 12, awesome. High school or teenagers like 13 to 17, and adults like 19 plus, awesome, awesome. So hopefully the things that I'll share will be helpful. I'm pretty sure they will be. And then we'll have some words from my father as well. And it's very important that when we're working with stuttering that we separate between what we do with kids who are preschool age and what we do with kids who are school age. It would be a big mistake to take, adult stuff and just kind of make it child's play and give it to preschool kids. And it would be a mistake to take some of the things that we might do with preschool kids and just dress it up and give it to adults. So it's very, very important. So the work that we do with preschool and the way we think about preschool stuttering is one thing, and the way we think about school age and teens and adults is a different thing. Not entirely different, but different in the way that we need to think about it and the way we need to treat it. Okay. So I think the first things first is we don't treat problems. We treat people. One of the most important things my father says. How many people here were in his class? Anyone here a student of my dad? Awesome. So he says, a pair of lips don't walk into the room. It's a person. You get the report, says, oh, it's a stuttering case, and you start thinking about stuttering. How do I treat stuttering? Stutter. You got to look at the person that walks in the room. You got a kid, you got a parent. Who's this person? That's the person that you're going to treat. That's the person that is coming for help. Stuttering just happens to be, apraxia just happens to be, whatever it is just happens to be the challenge that they have in speech communication, but it's so important and it's so simple to lose sight of the person and just fixate on the problem. What that looks like is a girl that we met last night. She's 30 years old now. When we met her, she was a young girl, and she was going through a lot of difficulty. She had a stutter. She also had learning challenges. She also had stuff going on at home. She had more going on than we even knew. And we thought we knew enough. We thought we knew what we were doing. And I met with her like 6 months ago or something. Now she's a therapist. She helps people heal from trauma. And she said to me, you know what I remember? She says, the strategy is the practice. 2 things I remember. Your father set up that when I would do my practice, it would be with my father. She and her father would work together at home. And her father said, this is Daddy Naomi time. She says, I didn't like the strategies so much, but that routine of having that time with my dad was precious. And it became a fixture of how she thinks about healthy relationships, having fixed time together, where he would give her his undivided attention. He was a very busy person. He was a medical professional. But he knew that he had a job to be there to support his daughter. It wasn't her job. It wasn't just her homework. So pairing them together, that was one thing she remembered. Later, she got older. She ended up working with me. She was around 12. What she remembers a time that she came into the office with a pair of silver sneakers. I don't know, Vegas or something, but it was like before Vegas, And I commented, I said, oh, those are really cool sneakers. And now it's like 20 years later, that's what she remembers. That's how you see a person, not a problem. So, so important. So I'm going to make most of my comments about school age stuttering and teens who stutter and adults who stutter. And my father will come and offer some additional insights, and we'll try to leave some time for some questions and answers and hopefully address some of the questions that you have. And whatever we don't, hopefully you'll be a little bit smarter and a little bit more able to get out there and use your good head, use your training, but also use your heart use your intuition, and maybe ask the right questions and think about who you could turn to get more information, because even with an hour, it's very hard to get everything you need to know about a topic like stuttering. So the first thing is, I would say, how many of you are familiar with the iceberg? Anyone? Anyone not familiar? So the iceberg, a tip of the iceberg sticks on top. Some of you may have seen the movie Titanic. Yeah? You know, so I can't win. And it goes boom, and then it goes down. Now, I always wondered, like, what was wrong? Were they asleep at the wheel? They didn't see? So they hit something. The tip of the iceberg was over here, but they hit the bottom, the part that was beneath the surface. So often in therapy, we're not thinking about what's beneath the surface. And what's beneath the surface sits somewhere else, a little bit broader. We're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. So what we see, what we can observe, what we can hear, the symptoms, this kind of thing, the repetitions, or those silent blocks, or the tension, those are the observable things. We want to be mindful of that, and we want to be mindful of what's beneath the surface. Now, the kicker is, there could be a lot of hard stuff beneath the surface, like Naomi, the girl I just described with the silver shoes. She had stuff going on, and we didn't know. We wanted to know, we were curious, we tried, but there were things going on we didn't know about. We all have to stay humble and recognize we're never going to know the whole story, but stay curious, stay humble, and keep listening. And we want to know what's going on above, but we want to know what's on below. When we want to get on what's below, it's not just negative things. They could be very positive. So someone who stutters could have incredible resilience. And you might not know that if you don't go beneath the surface. So what you see on the surface is a person who loves to communicate. They love to communicate. There's a lot of interruptions, but they don't stop. They don't stop. And what would happen to that person if all of a sudden everything becomes about all the interruptions? They're going to lose the passion to communicate. So we have to think, how do we support the thing that's the problem, that's getting in the way of communication and relationships, and at the same time, not inadvertently, we obviously hopefully mean well, but not inadvertently crush the spirit and kill the communication that's actually happening. That's great, that's awesome. But it is something we have to be, it's delicate, it's a dance, right? So there's above the surface and beneath the surface, and to recognize not everything beneath the surface is negative. It doesn't mean that there's fear and anxiety and that's it. There could be some fear, there could be some anxiety, but there also could be a lot of strength, determination, a great vocabulary, a lot of ideas, a passion, a zest, a hunger, an appetite to connect, to communicate. So be very mindful of that. If we take the iceberg and we break it down a little bit further, this is a model, and I'm going to make sure that you have an exercise for each of these. Those are going to be the 4 tools you're going to leave with, okay? But it starts with this framework. I took what I could from everything that my father's done in his decades of experience, and I tried to make it something that was accessible, and we've trained now, during COVID, it really took off, thousands of therapists around the world, and they find it very helpful. It's a way to take everything you've learned already about stuttering and to organize it, and it's a way to think about going forward, how you pursue learning and how you pursue understanding, and a way to organize that as well. It's not exclusive to something you already know or something you're going to learn. It's a way to just make things make sense. You know, speech therapists, we love to have fancy words, you know. Phonotactic constraints, that's one of my favorites. Nobody knows what you're talking about, but it sounds really fancy. I do know what it is, and I actually love it. But when we have language that nobody else understands what we're talking about, it's not very helpful. Now, I will share all this, so Wilmar doesn't have to take a picture of it, but I'll share all the slides and whatever we got. But Wilmar was very, very helpful in creating some of the stuff that you're going to see today, as was Inga Barsky, who's also here, and Malika Burton and Baya Tenenbaum. Okay, so if you think about it, the 4 things are, number 1, self-knowledge. Kind of looks like a light bulb, right? Self-knowledge. It's very hard not to get a speeding ticket if you don't know how fast you're driving. If you don't know how fast you're driving, you're probably going to get a ticket or someone's going to honk at you. So the first thing you need is a dashboard. You got to know what's going on, what's up, how does this thing work? Oh, the right pedal's the gas? Huh, thanks. Right? You can't get very far in a car or not get into an accident if you don't know that. So self-knowledge means making sense of stuttering, making sense of yourself, having goals, making a plan that's realistic, that's not too ambitious, but also not selling yourself short. Second thing is self-adjustment. What are the things you could turn the gears? Very important. It's very subtle. We had to spend a lot of time thinking what would be a good image for self-adjustment. Most of speech therapy works like a mechanic shop. People roll the kid in. We do some tinkering. We lift up the hood, do all kinds of stuff, and there you go. We do it. It's fine. Got to adapt. Be responsive. So the kid rolls in, they roll up the hood, and we do all the work. Or we tell them they got to do the work. But it's like a fix-it shop. It shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that way. So again, with school-age kids, teens and adults, it's so important. You'll notice the common word in all four is self, like helping the person help themselves, ultimately, right? Going from dependency to independence. The day they hire us, we look forward to the day they fire us. That's what we say, in a good way. Hopefully, that we helped, and then they're on their own to fly. Spread your wings and fly. So self-adjustment is all the traditional speech therapy stuff, techniques, mechanics. What are the things? Oh, try talking like this. Let's see what happens. Does it feel easier? Does it feel harder? What if we try like this? Does it feel like it's flowing more? Does it feel like it's getting more stuck? Self-adjustment. The third one is self-acceptance, learning how to practice self-care, compassion, and being comfortable in your own skin and in your own voice. I won't ask you to raise your hands, but I've been to a couple speech conferences. I've met a couple speech therapists. Not always the most comfortable crowd. Sometimes very tense, high standards, like things to go a certain way. They got a plan, they got their long-term goals, they got the short-term goals. What could go wrong, right? We got a plan. This is going to go just like that. And then what happens? You work with families, you work with kids, you work with people. They don't work the way the plan was supposed to work. So either you break the people or you break the plan, hopefully the latter. But self-acceptance is something we got to do also. We got to do that. We got to help parents. We got to help kids. And it's not like abracadabra, boom. You become accepting and you become comfortable. It happens gradually. You become more comfortable with certain things, even though other things continue to be hard. It's gradual and it's situational, just like stuttering. If you know any people who stutter, they usually don't stutter the same in every place all the time, right? So self-acceptance is also situational. And then self-advocacy is the last step, which is like last night, Naomi teaching us about stuttering therapy. She's the one who stutters. She's the expert. So she's advocating, she's teaching, she's sharing her knowledge. It doesn't mean we don't know what we're doing. It doesn't mean we don't have what to offer. But we also need to listen to the people who are living in the skin of stuttering, to listen to the parents that are living with this. What have they learned that's been helpful? I love to talk to kids, or I do, but like Friday, I had a phone call with a mom and a 13-year-old, and I said to the boy, oh, you've had therapy before? Cool. Like, what was the dumbest, most unhelpful thing that you had in speech therapy? And he's like, I said, was there anything that was hurtful, that like made you uncomfortable? And his mom's sitting next to him. It's a phone call. I didn't see them. And he's like, yeah, actually, yeah. And mom was like, you could hear on the phone her jaw dropped. Yeah? Sometimes we do things that push people a little too far out of their comfort zone, or ask people to do things we might not even do ourselves. The key is to learn how to do self-advocacy, is to help people become comfortable in their own skin, in their own voice. That's the first part, self-acceptance. And then self-advocacy is to talk it out. Like, let other people know what's up. Like, hey, Hanukkah's coming up. The holidays are coming up. I don't want Uncle David to ask me for the umpteenth time what school I go to, Mag and David. Like I've told him, I haven't switched. How many other schools are there, So self-advocacy is letting people know what's up, what you like, what you don't like, so that they start to understand, oh, that's how I want you to do things. I want you to do more of that, less of that. Speaking up for oneself. So we think of every person who stutters needs a little bit of everything. It changes in measure for each person. A simple tip to ask people is when they come in, let's say you're working with a school-age kid, a teen or an adult, you can ask them self-knowledge. How smart do you feel about stuttering? 1 to 10. How smart do you feel about yourself, your strengths, what you're really good at, your gifts, your superpowers, and your kryptonite? What's hard for you? What's challenging? Situations where you want to do different, where you want to do better. How smart do you feel about that? And some people say, oh, I feel like 9 out of 10, And other people are like, I have no idea. Like I was valedictorian at Harvard, but I couldn't tell you 2 intelligent sentences about stuttering. It's a complete enigma to me. That's a shame, but let's do something about that. But that tells us something. So that's self-knowledge. Also with parents and even with parents of young ones, they have to understand what stuttering is and what stuttering isn't, right? And that's where this infographic is a little bit of a beginning. Myths that people think about stuttering that need to be debunked. We need to it's time for the update, download the update on the app, update our knowledge about stuttering and our thinking about stuttering. And then what are some facts? What are some ways that parents, instead of feeling like they're to blame, can start to feel like they could be the heroes? They can be activated to be part of the solution. So, self-knowledge, self-adjustment, self-acceptance, and self-advocacy. So let's take a look, one exercise for each one. So far, just I don't know, if you have 10 fingers and you can raise them, how are we doing? 5, 2, 1 to 10. How's it going so far? If you've ever done anything with me, you know. Okay. Most people, some people are still either cold from outside, like frozen. That's okay. No problem. Lazy is a 4-letter word. Don't say that. Okay. Yeah, so let's look at this. This is something we do with self-knowledge, okay? So self-knowledge, we talked about the iceberg. Oh yeah, we're right on time, no problem. And Abba, how much time did you want? Okay, so I think something that's really helpful, and this comes also out of something that Naomi was talking about last night with us. Ask a child, a teen, or an adult, what does your stutter look like? This gives you a sense of their self-awareness, right? What does your stutter feel like? What does it feel like when you stutter? Feeling could be the feeling of tension. You could ask a person, point to where you feel your stutter. Point to your stutter. And sometimes they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, well, do you feel it over here? Do you feel it over here? Do you feel it over here? Over here? And then they'll often pick one or more of those. By the way, if you ever want to think about stuttering versus word finding, or stuttering versus language, the kid who tells you it's over here, often that means everything's chugging along. It's all set and ready to go. The language is all lined up. They know what they want to say. They have the words to say it. It's just the mechanics, not speech motor. It's not happening. But it's not a language thing. It's not a lack of intelligence. Then you have people that say, actually, it's over here. And then I'll ask them, you have ideas and it's hard to line up the words? Yeah, whatchamacallit, that thing, you know that thing, So then that's language, that's word. And sometimes it looks similar, right? You feel the time pressure, you feel, or if you're Israeli, you feel the time till everything clicks in. But that's a language thing. That's not a speech motor thing. So that's the difference between those two. But an example would be to ask someone, where do you feel it? Or what does it feel like? Some people will say it feels exhausting. It feels like pressure. It's like a headache. It feels, one kid who's an Ivy League student, he went to the best prep school on the Upper East Side. Now he's an Ivy League student. He told me it feels like this pipe, this windpipe over here, is collapsing on itself. That's what he said. Yeah? Or you can have kids draw a picture. You could say, hey, draw me a picture of a scene of you, or better is often not when you go direct, but say, let's say this girl's name is Naomi. Draw me a picture of Nancy. She's also 9 years old. She's not, she's in some other school, but draw a picture of Nancy. She stutters. Draw me a picture of what it looks like. And they might choose to draw a picture of what's happening in the playground. They might choose to draw a picture of what's happening in the classroom. But then you could talk about the picture. And through the picture, they could tell you what it looks like, what it feels like. And then you could say, well, what does it sound like? So we had someone mention blocks. Then there's basically 3 types, right? 3 types of sounds that can come out with the stutter. You could have the repetitions. You could have the mommy. Things get stretched out, like prolongation. Or you could have those blocks where it's kind of stuck at a red light. It's just not kicking into gear. But you could ask a person to describe it. Now, what happens when you do this exercise? Instead of it being this amorphous, looming monster with no name, no shape, no definition, the person, whether it's a kid, adult, they're naming it. They're giving it shape. They're giving it definition. Now we see what we're dealing with. It's very, very empowering. Okay? So that's one exercise, and that goes with self-knowledge. So far, so good? So you got one tool. Okay? Next. Let's see what else we got. Okay. This slide set doesn't have this one. Okay. I'm going to give it to you separately. Okay? Self-adjustment. For self-adjustment, the most important thing, I'm not going to get into the strategies. I'm not going to get into speech strategies, but I do want to say we do have an ebook. Again, Wilmar worked on a lot of these images and helped us put it together. Big kudos. Big time. The first thing with this self-adjustment is the right mindset, the right approach. You can't come in telling someone how to talk. You invite them to explore, to experiment. You know, I think of it like if I was going to have any of you over for a meal, it would probably be a good idea if I asked you if you have any allergies, if you prefer milchiks, if you prefer fleischiks, meat, dairy, you know, vegan, pescatarian, you know. And then I can accommodate you. I could figure out what works. And if you tell me I'm not sure, like I'm ready to try some lahmacun or whatever, great. So I'll give you a taste. Yeah, it goes. Oh, you want more spicy? You want like this? That doesn't work for you? No problem. We can go to the kalbit, you know, kibbeh, whatever. Figuring out what the person wants, but letting them realize this is not like a compulsory kind of thing where we're going to tell them what to do and they got to do it like this. Giving them a chance to feel things out. So how do we figure out how to get feedback? So what I want to share on this is a tool for feedback and self-adjustment. And what I asked you to do 1 to 10, that's it. 1 to 10. So on one side you could say, how flowy did that feel? A 10 would be the most desirable. How flowy did that feel? And a 1 might be the most choppy. And you notice flowy and choppy just happen to be 2 adjectives. You can find others. You can give the person a chance to come up with their own vocabulary, but it's not judgmental. It's very important that the language we use is not judgmental and not like abstract, speechy talk, like phonotactic constraints. We'll put disfluency right in the pile over there, not to mention the connotations that has, you know. But like the kid often doesn't know what in the world you're talking about, but it doesn't sound good. Mommy doesn't seem to smile when she hears that word, you know? But if we say flowy and choppy, great. If we can come up with like little superheroes. There's Iceman, you know? And then there's, I don't know, the gluey guy, the sticky guy, the guy that sends the, you know, Spider-Man. Everything's very sticky. There you go. So you got 2 superheroes. You can do whatever you want. But get it descriptive and then go 1 to 10. And then you could ask the person 1 to 10 on the 10 desirable side, how easy was that? How easy did that feel? Or on the other side, it could be, how hard was that? The magic of the work we do, this is like now not 101. Now I'm taking like a higher level. So if you're with me, strap on your seatbelt. If not, I'll come right back in a second. But the magic is the intersect between these 2 things. It's learning new skills and new ways of doing things, but making it easy. Getting it to be automatic, getting it to be easy to do. If something gives you, let's say, fluency, or if something gives you energy all day, let's say, like, take it out of fluency stuff. Let's say one of us was working on something. Let's say, I don't know, we were on a diet. I'm sure I'm the only one, right? So, like, you want to do, if you get the results, but it's painful, like, you can't go to any functions, you can't be with anyone else, you got to starve yourself, and all day you're dealing with migraines, but you feel great when you look in the mirror. Not so sustainable, not so healthy, not so great. A lot of speech therapy could be like that. Like, we sell them on, hey, in our laboratory, in our room, everything sounds great. That's fantastic. Rah, rah. But it's not something they can take out, and it's not something that's easy. So we always want to be getting both of these things. We want to be getting output and results, but also making sure it feels doable. And it should be getting easier over time. So 1 to 10. You can ask them over time. And you could also ask them, so you don't end up being the therapist who does that thing to that 13-year-old boy. You could ask him, would you like to try this? Did that feel okay? And if you give the person permission to say, that didn't feel okay, I don't want to do that. Okay, maybe not yet. We won't do that. We can revisit it, you know? So that's an idea for self-adjustment. The tool is the 1 to 10, getting feedback. Okay, I'm back to the one-on-one. We're good? Everybody good with me still? Okay, great. Self-acceptance. Self-acceptance is so important. Self-acceptance, a tool I would suggest, is to think about, you don't have to volunteer your answer, but I'll ask everyone here a question, and I just want you to like listen to your own voice. You can even close your eyes. And imagine that I called you and I said there's a family with a kid, and this kid is 4 years old. He has extremely, extremely severe stuttering. He can't get a word out. His father is also a person who stutters. His mother is losing her mind. She's very, very worried about this, and she doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know what to do, and I want to refer them to you. So what thought goes through your head? You don't have to volunteer, but that's the question I want to ask you. I'm going to refer this case, this very challenging case, to you. And I really think you got this. I believe in you. What goes through your head as a speech therapist tonight? And there's no right answer or wrong answer. How many people here had something that was on the positive side? Yes! Send it! Anyone have that? Like towards the positive? Great. Awesome. Awesome. That's great. And how many people had something that was a little bit veering towards the, I don't know if I'm the right person. I don't know if I could do this. Please no. Please no. One person raised their hand. The rest of us were nodding. Great. The point is, people who stutter have those same thoughts. The people we work with, the mothers, the fathers, they doubt themselves. They doubt if they could do it. So self-acceptance is really unpacking, shedding light on what are those thoughts that they have on the inside about themselves. What are the thoughts they have about the stutter? I'll never beat this. I'll never be able to be loved. I'll never be able to get married. I'll never be able to give a speech. I'll never be able to raise my hand in class. I'm going to be in the bathroom every single time there's reading. How many adults who stutter say the safest place in school was the bathroom? If there's one thing you do tonight, leave tonight thinking about that school-age kid, that shouldn't be their experience, that they should feel that maybe you, or that you help them find that place or person that's a safe place, that's a person that could be a champion for them. Yeah, it shouldn't be a bathroom. They shouldn't go to the bathroom to be safe. So self-acceptance could be the beginning of shifting, like, yeah, I am funny. Yeah, people do like to hear what I have to say, as opposed to nobody wants to listen to me. So the self-acceptance starts with opening up, like, what are the thoughts and the feelings that a person has, and letting a person kind of like share that. Put it down. Again, it can be done through pictures. It could be done through statements and seeing what they connect to, what they relate to, what do they identify with. And then it could be like, let's watch this person, like later tonight at 8 o'clock. Hopefully, I'm not going to say names, but I think there are going to be some pretty extraordinary people that are going to be coming, people that stutter. People who most people would say, this person can never do this person can never do that. And what they're doing is beyond what most people who don't stutter are doing. They're doing the most incredible things. And it's not just pie in the sky, touchy-feely. Like, it's proof. So giving a young person evidence that there's someone out there who stutters, who's doing what they want to do, who's a lawyer. If you look at the infographic on the cover, you got Nachum Siegel. Who would think you could be a radio host if you stutter? Okay. You got Mo Mernick. Who thinks you could be an entrepreneur giving a Daf Yomi Shir, having already gone through Shas twice as the Magid Shir? But when he was a kid, he couldn't even say his own name. That's why he goes by Mo, because he couldn't say Moshe. How cool is that? Moshe, huh? A lot of boys with Moshe who stutter. Moshe, there you go. There's a famous person who stutters, huh? Didn't think he could do it. My dad says that was the prototype of speech therapy. He says, please, God, not me. You got the wrong guy. I'm not down for this. Send anybody else. They're not going to listen to me. I don't talk good. I don't talk good. Self-acceptance. What does God say? He doesn't say, I'll take away the stutter. And Moshe doesn't say, take away. He says, who gave man the power of speech? I got this. I know what I'm doing. I picked you for a reason. Putting you on a mission. And you're my guy. No one else. You're my guy. Even though you don't believe it. But I'm going to be with you. I'm going to be with you. And he goes from lo ish devarim at the sneh, at the burning bush. I'm not a man of words. And then in Deuteronomy, in Devarim, it starts off, Eile devarim asher diber Moshe. Ish devarim. He speaks the entire book of Deuteronomy. From not a man of words to the whole book of words. The ultimate teacher, the ultimate leader, a person who stutters. Doesn't get better than that. Ashkenazi, Sephardi, it's beyond all that, Okay, and then self-advocacy, so the exercise I'll give there, and then I'll hand off to my father, and then we'll take some questions. Self-advocacy, the exercise could be, even at this time of the year, or especially at this time of the year, if it's the summer and you're transitioning into the school year, asking the young person or the family, I wonder if you want to let your teacher know what stuttering is all about. Maybe you want to do a science project, or maybe you just want to write a letter, or maybe you want to make a phone call, or maybe you want me to talk to your teacher, or maybe you want your parents to talk to the teacher to let them know, even though I stutter, I still want to participate in class. Don't skip me. Or the opposite. When I'm in class, I'm really nervous that any moment you're going to call on me. If I would just know that I could be in class and you're not going to call on me, that would start making me feel more comfortable in class. But the teacher doesn't know. And telling a family, the teacher hopefully wants to do the best for the kid. Hopefully. But we have a part to play in that. And we can help, instead of just doing the work for them, we can give them a voice. It could be through writing a letter that they never send. I had that so many times where I had, especially, quick aside, because I forgot to say this at the beginning. I think the most important thing, whatever age we're working with, think about the temperament of the person. There are people who stutter who are like, what's that watch? Takes a licking and keeps on ticking? Timex. Thank you. Boom, right on time. So Timex takes a licking and keeps on ticking. There are those kinds of people. When they stutter, they're often very strong. It doesn't shake them up. And then we've got the other type, the precious orchids out there. Not the Timex. They're not so anti-fragile, When they fall, they get bruised. They get thrown off. It's hard to bounce back so fast. And then they get very uptight about the next time. That temperament is a different temperament. We have to think about what the experience with stuttering is like for this one and what it's like for that one. It's not the same. It's almost like a different condition. Okay. Coming back to the final point is that you can ask the person to write a letter. So Devora, for example, told me she was going to give a presentation to her class and she was really, really nervous. I said, what about writing a letter to your teacher? No way. No way. I said, what if we just pretend to write a letter? I promise I won't send it. You won't show it to my parents either? I said, I won't show it to your parents. And she wrote a beautiful letter. And she was doing self-advocacy. And I promised, and I kept my promise. It was a shame because it was such a good letter. The next day, she sent me a text message from school. Do you still have that letter? And then she ended up giving it to her teacher, and then she gave the talk in class. So seeing people where they're at, seeing people, not problems, thinking about how we can give people a voice, whatever their voice is, to help them feel more and more comfortable in their own skin, to be champions, to be advocates, to create a safe space so that they're not alone in a bathroom or a basement as the safest place. People who stutter can do anything. Anything. And there's a lot that we can do to get behind them. So I hope this was a first step. And without further ado, Avi Mori, my father, Dr. Phil Schneider.
So I came up with a couple of thoughts. First, what kinds of outcomes are we hoping for when we meet somebody who comes to us and somebody's going to pay us to try to help this person? So in a way, the gold standard seems to be that this challenge that they have of these intermittent interruptions in speaking will disappear. And they'll become a person who does not have interruptions in their speech. That seems like the gold standard. That's what I would want if it were my child, that they not have to go through life with this challenge. And it turns out a very clear statistical fact, is most children who start having these difficulties in their preschool years between 2 and 5 do not retain that tendency. So the odds are good that a person will grow up and will not retain this challenge. What's the other side of the equation? What would be like the worst case scenario? The person continues to have interruptions in speech. But is that the worst case scenario, or is there another twist in there? There's another twist, and it's very important. Because you can grow up continuing to have interruptions in your speech and accomplish everything in your life you ever dreamed of. Soulful relationships, significant others, wide range of friends, significant work life, parnasa, everything you dreamed of, and still have the interruptions in your speech. The worst case scenario is deciding that because of this difficulty, you're worthless, and you should crawl in a hole, cover it up, and you live with shame and fear. That's the worst case scenario, not whether you stutter or not. And I'll try to give a metaphor for that. Stuttering, unlike other speech issues, I've dealt in my 53 years with many different kinds of speech issues. The others do not create shame the way stuttering does. Shame is uniquely tied to stuttering. And I didn't really personally understand why until I developed a neuromuscular problem. And instantly I didn't want to leave my house. I hid it from my wife for a year because it was something that felt shameful to be seen being physically out of control in front of other people. It immediately robs you of some kind of feeling of dignity. So when we meet a person who stutters, we have two jobs. Can we do things with them and with their family that may increase the odds that they do not continue to live with this challenge? It fades away. That's one goal. But simultaneously, the other goal is that they grow up with a sense of being B'Tselem Elokim, having self-esteem regardless of what goes on physically in their lives. You have to do both. You have to have both of those things in your heart and in your mind at every moment, because the worst case scenario is shame. And we do not have the power to know who is going to retain this and who isn't. So we have to be prepared to know that everything we say and do will strengthen this person to be able to live with strength and courage and dignity, even if they stutter. And at the same time, can they learn something that might help diminish that physical struggle? So I think that that's the one message that I wanted most to send you away with for this evening, is to be conscious of two sides of that. So if you're too enthusiastic about encouraging a child, just practice a little bit more. Can't you do it more? Oh, that was so great when you did that, but not so great when you did this. You can actually send a message of values, of what's really good and bad and what really counts in this world. So I'd say to you, what's more important to you, the shape of your nose or how you feel about the shape of your nose? It might sound like a silly question, but the shape of your nose could be irrelevant, or it could be your whole life. You could turn it into your whole life, chasing surgical procedures, looking in mirrors, and actually becoming disconnected from your own beauty and from what the world wants to have from you, which is connection. So the goal is connection. Communication means commune, means to come together. It's not a speech. Speech is a physical task, but the goal of speech is to commune, is to reveal who you are, what you think and what you feel, and soak in the others. And if you feel afraid because you feel you will be humiliated, you turn away and hide. So that's the biggest thing. So what are simple things? Like Uri mentioned one particular, this girl came to him with shining sneakers, and he said, "Those are amazing." She remembered that with more than a decade later. So don't be when you meet people, let's say in your social life you meet a new person, is the first thing that you say is, you might look better with a different color clothing. Or you think the first thing you say is, maybe you should comb your hair differently. Or if you only did this, you'd look better. You'd never do that. You always start on the positive side. And gradually, as people feel safe and respected and appreciated and valued, we open up deeper and deeper and become more comfortable to share some of the tough sides. So it's... How much time? Just give me a time frame. No, that doesn't work. I need 5 minutes. Okay, good. That does it. Okay, so I'm going to start with the youngs. I'll share some thoughts about the preschool situation. And quick preface is, when the pandemic started, I gave up my office because I didn't think I'd be sitting with people for a long time, and having an office was very expensive. And I thought, okay, I'm in my 70s, it's over, it's fine. And I was at peace with that. And then people started to somehow find my cell phone number. I closed the office number. And I got calls. And I started to work through the computer. So one of the biggest changes, if you ask me, Phil, what's the biggest change in your work life over the last 5 years or so, I'd say, I have discovered ways to work with the computer that are far beyond anything I ever did when I had an office. And I'll share a little bit of that work up with preschoolers, because the work is really, who's the customer, who's calling you, who's in pain with a 4-year-old? It's the parent. So when in the office, the parent, like, you know, the parent with the old paradigm, parent would sit in the waiting area and you're doing something to their kid. Then they pick up the kid, and like getting a shirt from the laundry pressed and cleaned. So you've missed all the power. Who has the most influence on your life growing up? Your mother and your father, sometimes one, sometimes, or some other significant adult. That's the person who needs to be doing the work with the child. So now there is no mistake about who the therapist is, because when I meet with the parent, I don't meet with the child. I don't even have the child come on the screen with me. The parents, when they call me and they discuss what their concerns are, I say, send me some video clips from your cell phone or smartphone. And if it's someone in a community that doesn't have one, I say, someone else has one, borrow one. And, or realize that for a few $100s, you can have a tool that'll help you and help me help you, and we'll be a team. So whatever it is I teach the parents to do with that child, every day they send me a 2 or 3 minute clip of their work with their child. And every day I send them feedback. It doesn't take more than a few moments, but I'm now training the parent in their home with their child, in their home with their stuff, often with other siblings running in and out of the scenario. I get a real better flavor for what's going on. And the work needs to take place not in my office, in the place most significant to this child. And so I'm empowering the parent, who typically feels like part of the problem, to become the solution. And I encourage them to say positive things to the child about communication, such as, wow, you know, you ask the greatest questions. And you know, the smartest people in the world, in medicine and science and religion, are people who constantly ask good questions, and that's who you are. So you're going to be one of the smartest people in the world. Or you know what? You make us laugh. And you know, we need to laugh. More and more people need to laugh in this world. And you know how to make people laugh. You know, you make my eyes tear with the sweetness and the sensitivity. So when a child speaks, I try to tell the parents how to focus on the ikr of the communication message. What is this child expressing? And how can you express back how much you appreciate and admire that they do this? Wow, I'm so lucky to have you for my child, because I can learn, I can hear from the way you tell me things how much you see in this world that I would miss if I didn't have you. What's that going to make the child want to do? Communicate more, because they're being honest, as opposed to, you know, if you only pronounce that S sound with your tongue in your mouth, I'd listen to you. You would sound much better. Maybe you'd succeed in the world if you didn't speak that way. Or in the case of stuttering, you know, the panic in the parent may cause them to do things that ultimately are not healthy for the parent or the child, which is to feel the pressure that they need to fix this to save their child. So by having a relationship with this parent in the way you deal, in the way you partner up together, you help them ease up that pain and that fear. And doing that helps them be freer to really listen to their child, because otherwise when the child's speaking and the child gets stuck, the parent stops listening to this, to the message, and switches over to, I have to do something to fix this. And by the way, if you want to fix, or if you want to have a person not stutter, what's the simplest way to succeed 100%? Don't speak. So when someone comes to me as an adult and they say, I want to stop stuttering, I say, it's very simple. Pay first, and I'll tell you. I say, think for a moment. If you're a person who's been stuttering for the last 10 years, 2 years, 5 years, 20 years, and you want to stop stuttering, all you have to do is stop speaking. And the person looks at you and goes, yeah, right, because what you really want is to communicate more. And communicate more means not just how many times I have an interruption, but it means, do I feel freer to open up to more people that I want to in ways that I want to? Do I have that strength? And so the number one goal is freedom of speech. That people should feel sense of B'Tselem Elohim, bumpy speech or not bumpy speech. And at the same time, there are things that can be learned. I don't think that this is going to be the time frame for that, clearly. But I'm always open to hear phone calls or whatever. If anybody has a question or wants to talk further, my email is philspeech@gmail.com. So you can always reach out. Should we switch? And I didn't say what I was the other part I was really feeling. Come here. Come here. I'll try to say it through the emotional overwhelm. Can you imagine seeing your children grow up to become your best friends and your teachers? Beyond.
That was bound to happen. Thank you, Abba. So we said at the beginning that the hope was that whatever you came in with, that hopefully you would feel a little bit more able. So I want everybody to just do like a self-check. Do you feel like you got one thing? If you feel like you got one thing that you feel empowered, that you could put into play, doesn't mean it's everything. It doesn't mean you're perfect. Nobody's perfect. We're all perfectly imperfect. But if you have something, just raise your hand. Just want to see vibe check. Okay. Anyone who didn't raise their hand, I want to deliver. I want to make sure like we don't leave anyone behind. So if someone didn't raise their hand, is there someone that didn't get something they feel that could help them show up better? Okay, great. So let's pair up real quick, okay? Pair up with the person next to you. Maybe say hello. And then just ask each other, like, what did you get from this? Like, what's something you thought before and you think a little different now? Or something you were thinking you should be doing and this just reinforced it? So just share with each other. One thing that you got, one thing that you got. Boom. It could be something new. It could be something that was validated. Go. Okay, take like 2 minutes. Say hello. Okay, hopefully get the other person. Get the other person also. Okay, now we're talking, we're communicating. That's okay, but you were vibing also. You okay?
But
Got
it's
something?
exactly what we do in parent engagement program.
Boom.
The way you were saying about how the parents, that your father was saying actually, that the parents need to have the tools, and that's exactly what I say. I say it all the time when I speak, and when I go to parent, we have the parent engagement program. I run the program, and I love it. I think it's the best thing because when the kids are in therapy, they just come home and they have it once a week, and that's it. But when they have it with the parent all day, every day, going through motions of whatever the therapist works with that one day a week. So I
That's
agree
it.
with you 100%.
That's it. Okay, so let's come back together. Now, for the kid or for the person who stutters, every time they talk in class, they should like introduce themselves and say like, this is me flexing my courage, yeah? So now you get to have a chance. Who wants to flex their courage and share one thing either that they got or that their partner got? Go for it, and I'll give you a little sticker. Okay, who's got one? Who's got something they got or that their partner got?
Don't be shy.
Wilmar, go for it.
So we talked about the Iceman, Sticky Man, like the superheroes that you were talking about. It's really helpful because I haven't heard about that in terms of like children. Like that's a really nice way to help children talk about their iceberg.
Talk more, fear less.
Yes.
Love
I
it.
love these things.
Boom. Who's got one? Who's got another one? They could share either their own or from their partner. If you said you got something, be courageous. Boom. Batya, thank you.
Giving your kids self-confidence, how important it is as a parent to instill, all
We worry about the self-confidence. Give it.
bedrock from Schneider that your father spoke about is so important as a clinician and as a parent. So that's what we discussed.
Look at this sticker. You ready for this? There's no way to be a perfect parent, but a million ways to be a good one. How about anyone else? Someone in the back, someone in the front. Oh, there we go, Elise. Yeah?
I loved what you said about the anatomy of the stutter, like giving it like structure, like description.
Yeah.
That was really
Yes. Yes, let's see what we got for you. Anatomy.
She also teaches.
I know.
yes, he knows me.
That when she talks, I listen. That's why I got this one. This is a favorite philism, part of his philosophy. When kids talk more when we listen.
Love it. Thank you.
Okay, come on. Who's got another one? I got a few more stickers. Got two more to go. Miriam.
So this applies really across the board, not just in therapy, but when you're trying to teach a new skill, you start out with what the client is doing well, and work from there. So rather than say, well, if you did it like this, it would be good, you started, well, you're really good at this and you're really good at that, and move from there.
Yes.
Okay, that works, by the way, not just with this. It works with everything.
Yes.
I'm going to get a sticker.
Yes. What's impossible today can one day become your warm-up.
Nice.
You have no idea how appropriate this is for me. You have no idea.
We got one more. One more. Come on. Yes. Thank you. I was waiting for it. I could feel you sitting on the precipice of. Yes.
For me, it was more what you said towards the beginning about the self, and it's about the child. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll confess that I saw one of your workshops a bunch of years ago when you came out the film. Actually, it was your father, but it could be you were there too.
The OG.
I was sort of when you came out the film, Transcending the Stuttering, and it's more about understanding for the client what works best for them, not what works best for us. And I've guided my whole therapy through that along those lines, and I always tell them right away, it's not about how good it sounds to me, it's what works for you. Because for you, it might be much easier to stutter because it's more natural for you, as opposed to the other way. And I've seen amazing results with that. And then throughout, it's really self-guided through that, meaning the focus is on them and not on me.
Sounds like I should have stopped at the beginning and let you take over. That was beautiful. That was really beautiful. I would just piggyback on that. What I want to leave you with is the understanding that it's not one or the other. It's not about making them feel good, and it's not about the strategies. It's not one or. It's finding the right way to integrate and to weave it together for each person. And at the different stages and ages, people need different things. And it's about trying not to get it perfect, but tuning into the person and what they need in that moment, and then adapting as you go, especially if you're running late. So I'll give you the sticker. Courage is not waiting for the storm to pass, but learning to dance in the rain. All right. There are more stickers for everybody in the back. Thank you for coming. Thank you for Sephardic Bikur Cholim for hosting. And if you want more, so you can go to the website, and my father gave his email, but we'll send everything to everybody.
There's some paper